Like I said, thank you guys, everybody, for joining this evening or morning, depending on where you are. Um, I know we've got some international friends here with us today, and I'm just super grateful that you guys took the time to be here. Okay, so this is in our series of interior design for neurodiverse homes. One of the things that when I started this series, it was just kind of an overview of kind of an introduction. And so in these subsequent sessions, we just kind of dive a little bit deeper into um, the little subcategories of design for neurodiverse homes. So we'll get started. First of all, my name is Rachel, and this topic is especially personal for me because I have seen how inclusive design has soothed and regulated my own neurodiverse family. It includes ADHD, dyslexia, auditory processing disorder, and PANDAS, which is a pediatric autoimmune disorder. And based on kind of the comfort levels needed, depending on where in a flare a family member might be, the great thing about coming from my background as an interior designer is I was able to kind of come in and offer comforting rooms and home environments in a way that I could tell directly impacted our son. And part of that is because my home environment has impacted me my entire life. I just kind of know what I need to regulate. So when I would do that for Jackson, it was just kind of an eye opener, and it really made me want to share so that other people who, whether they're going through illness or just a hard day at work, can come home and feel comfortable in their home. So you'll see these pictures right here. One specific thing about Jackson and his sensitivities is he loves really cozy, darker spaces, definitely with a good touch of nature. So in that top picture, number one, that was his childhood bedroom that kind of grew along with him. And his room had always been lighter colors, but around middle school, he said, "Mom, can we paint the room black?" I was like, "Of course not. But I will meet you halfway. We'll go like real dark gray navy." So that is what picture number one is. And he wanted all the walls and the ceiling. So we, again, compromised. And I did kind of what you see, a wraparound color where we did the headboard wall, ceiling, and then the opposite wall, but the other two walls were left white. It really turned out so good. I was so impressed that when we moved, when he was in high school, which you see in picture two, slightly after actually I took his room over a little bit for the guest room once he left for college. The room number two, I said, you know what, let's go dark, ceiling, all the walls. And he loved it. And the impact that having that place for him to go to after being at school all day it was huge for him, as it is for so many neurodiverse kids and adults. All right, so neurodiversity. What is neuroinclusive design? Why is it important? So neurodiversity, the umbrella of neurodiversity, includes various things: autism, learning disabilities, anxiety, sometimes even the sensitivity that you can have. Maybe it doesn't stem from neurodiversity. It could completely come from just a stage in life, transition, moving, marriage, having a baby, deaths. All of these things can trigger the need for more sensory friendly spaces. But you will get kind of an idea of the umbrella term that neurodiversity is. Okay. And then the sensory differences that lead to those sensitivities include difficulty with focus, staying still, atypical responses to sensory input, heightened anxiety, all of these things. So you can see why it would be very helpful to have places that do help regulate your system. So in this workshop, we're going to explore some of the most well-studied and impactful tools for the sensory challenge community. Think of it as a beginner's toolkit, though. You're going to lead with new strategies, but not all of them will work. So if something doesn't work, you go to the next tool. Keep in mind that what works well at one time may feel off at a different time. So maybe you revisit the toolbox later. So you're, going to have a helpful toolbox to move forward with. Also, one more thing is at the end of every, or at the bottom of every slide, and you guys will get a copy of this presentation once I'm done, is there are sources for a lot of the science behind neurodiversity and interior design. All right, we're going to start with acoustics and sound management. So noise sensitivity is very common in the neurodiverse community, and poor acoustic design leads to stress, distraction, reduced functionality. So managing sound within the home, workplace, classroom, all of this is essential. What's that look like, though? What is really helpful is we have it divided into a couple of categories, and we're going to give examples of each one. The first one is absorption. So here we're trying to absorb the sound. This is best accomplished by adding soft surfaces. So using rugs, curtains, upholstered furniture absorbs sound, all of that helps. Even adding large bookshelves, because the books themselves can act as, kind of like tiny acoustic tiles. Hard surfaces will echo and amplify noise. So when you're thinking about what can I do, what can I add to my room as a layer to help with the sound? I mean, yeah, it's drapes and throws and pillows. Anything soft is really going to help with that. And when you are in this place, I mean, depending on the age of your kids, the age of your dogs or cats, that kind of thing, cleanability can be a concern. So using wool rugs when possible is helpful for a couple of reasons. So they have an inherent stain resistance, which is really great, inherently very durable. I mean, which is why you see so many vintage rugs, right? Especially on stairs. So if you're ever going to put a runner upstairs or carpet your stairs, I recommend investing in wool to do that. And putting carpet on stairs is another way that will really help dampen sound. It's kind of insane how sound travels. And then also, if you look at, let's see, picture 3, that extra tall headboard, that does the same thing. So if you're in, especially, a condo or a townhome, or maybe you share walls with neighbors, anything you can do to kind of add a buffer on the walls, it's a great idea. So absorption in those ways. Also, thinking outside the box on this topic. No, I didn't just put a picture of Patrick Dempsey in here for fun, although it is fun. But he had in fact, did I link it? I did. I linked it below. His Architectural Digest home tour. It was great. And there were a couple of places, but specifically the wall we're looking at behind him, where he has firewood, that is going to help absorb sound. So thinking outside the box on this topic, we have some very traditional, like ancient tapestries, and untraditional wall coverings, like, I guess, logs, basically anything made of fabric, textiles. You can get so creative here. Even stacks of wood, they're all going to help dampen the sound. So very helpful there. On that note, okay. Acoustic tiles and paneling has come a long way. All of these are from a company called Felt Right Acoustic Tiles, and they have some that get super creative, very, monotone, all the way to interesting patterns, and then the wood clad, which are some of my favorite. So this is a great idea if you have like a kid's playroom, a lot like an open loft. All of these open floor plan homes, which we're going to get to that in a minute, can be so overstimulating because there's so much noise bouncing around. So just kind of keeping acoustic tiles in mind as an option is very helpful. The next way, so if we're not absorbing sound, it's kind of similar. It does absorb sound a bit, just in a different way. It kind of diffuses the sound. So right behind us on picture one is a really cool fabric screen. I think this is maybe a canvas. I couldn't quite tell what piece of art that was. And I hunted and hunted for this picture, did Google Lens, and didn't come up with many. So anyway, couldn't track down quite as much, but I did go down a rabbit hole on it. Then picture number two, this is a designer's loft in Brooklyn, and they had a custom bookcase made for the middle of the room. So when we divide spaces up, whether it's using a screen divider or a bookcase, or as you see in picture three, just some good old-fashioned walls where we don't have that open floor plan, that is really going to help break up those sound waves and soften noise distribution. Okay. And yes, when I was working on this, I was like, man, I miss those. And I knew when I was sitting in a restaurant shortly, kind of after pandemic, after we're getting back into restaurants and that kind of thing, the partitions, I miss those because, when it's just a big open restaurant, it's so loud. But when you have those partitions up, number one, it just kind of feels like cozy and tucked, which I love. But also, I really think it helped dampen some of that sound. I knew we weren't going to get to keep them, but I do remember telling my husband, like, I'm going to enjoy these while they're here. Anyway, okay, so if you can tell, I'm not a fan of open concept. But I think because I need those different spaces, and we're going to get into that in a minute too, talking about those reset zones and those sensory zones in the house. And this is just an aside, it's a little free tip. If we are talking about bookshelves, there's a bowling ball rule. I do have a whole how to arrange your bookshelves, how to fill them, and some easy steps to kind of break it down so it's not overwhelming. But one thing that I love is on bookshelves, if you're going to have decor on, say, a third of the shelves, so you have a third books, third to two-thirds books, a third kind of decor, keeping items around bowling ball size is helpful to prevent things from looking super cluttery. So when you have a lot of small objects, sometimes something can look, a display, a vignette can look a little busy or cluttered, as opposed to having less larger items. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. We're talking about rabbit trailing. Okay, and another way that we control acoustics, or we deal with acoustics and sound management, is controlled background sounds. So sound machines are a simple, budget-friendly way to reduce noises, promotes better sleep and focus. It complements other strategies that we've talked about, but nature sounds specifically have a positive impact on our nervous system. And certain rhythms and white noise can improve focus by covering and distracting irritating sounds. So for instance, the effect of right now it is raining outside, so that I have natural nature sounds on. But what I love about, actually, hold on real quick. I have to had a little notification pop up and it was distracting me. Okay. So if we go to the white noise machines, that's what it was. Okay. So white noise, you have rain sounds, thunder. Oh, it's wonderful. Specifically nature sound, woods with birds. When we hear birds, there's a primal instinct inside of us that says we're safe, because in outdoors, when birds are singing, there are no predators around. And that gives animals and ourselves that kind of inner nervous system, we're good, everything's good, there's no predators around when we hear birds. So sometimes if I'm feeling particularly frazzled, I just need to do some breathing and all of that, or just need to get a lot of work done, I throw on nature sounds, bird sounds specifically, even though like typically that kind of high-pitched sound does not sound appealing. It has a nice little, when you put it on low, for me anyway, has a nice reaction. I have a nice reaction to it. And then again, 80 Attitude Magazine, I put the link down here, has a really good piece on music that focuses the brain. Specifically, I think that's the article that has 10 songs that were studied. They were part of a research study, and showed that it really did. It helped focus and relax, lessen stress. All right. We are on to isolation as part of our acoustics and sound management. So room layout for quiet spaces. This is a great thing to be able to do. Keep this in mind if you're remodeling or switching up rooms in your current home. It's great to do, but it can be tricky if you're not, starting from scratch, because maybe your bedroom shares a wall with the kitchen. I don't know. So we can't always change these things, but keep these in mind. And sometimes you can switch things around. So when you're building or remodeling, do think carefully about room placement. So you're going to keep your louder spaces like your kitchens, play areas away from bedrooms and quiet zones. Also, and you can do this with a remodel, you can do it with just kind of like a one-off handyman project, but investing in soundproofing. So whether it's solid core doors, because they're heavier and they block noise better than the hollow doors. Acoustic door sweeps can seal gaps under doors, also helps for light. And then specialized insulation, thicker drywall, that kind of thing. It can help dampen sounds from other rooms. You can also get creative with your room functions. So I had a client who had their living room and she wanted it to be kind of a comfortable, relaxing space, but it was right by the kitchen. They had a big family. So what we did is we switched around that living room. We put at the front of the house where the dining room was, because it's also a hassle to get from the kitchen to the dining room anyway. So we switched that around and it ended up working really well for our family. Luckily, they had kind of a longer dining room. So it ended up working. But yeah, sometimes you just have to think outside the box, and that's okay. You have designer's approval on it. Okay, and then designate a space or time to prioritize just sensory breaks. This could look like a sofa or a chair in your bedroom or home office, someplace where you can, it's fine in the living room, but if kind of people are in and out and you just really want that space, put it in a room that has a door. And then just add those cozy layers, pillows, throws, a sound machine, candles, things that make you feel, they get in your little rituals, your wind down rituals, that can be so helpful. Claiming a shared room, though, can be tricky. So sometimes sensory time is an alternative to sensory space. I grew up in a large family, and it was chaos from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. Just noises and kids and fun. I found sensory time, though, by treating myself to late night audiobook time. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but as I look back on it, I was like, that's 100% what I was doing. I would pop a bowl, and I would be looking forward to this all day. Like the days where I was like, oh, I'm going to do that tonight. But I would pop myself a bowl of popcorn, all just for me. And then I would pour my favorite soda. I'd put my headphones on. I'd gone to the library and would get my mystery, my Sherlock Holmes, whatever mystery I was reading at the time, and just sit there. And it was the best thing, the best. And it was so quiet. I would wait till everybody, went to bed. It was like 11 o'clock at night. Anyway, so if you don't have the space, if me coming from a family of like 9 can find some space, you can too. It just might be a time instead of space issue. Okay. Next up is textures and tactile comfort. So we all have varying tactile sensitivities. So offering and limiting texture significantly influences comfort and stress levels based on that. First off, So soft textures. And we all have opinions on what soft is. But materials like microfiber, cotton, soft wool, which we know that there can be scratchy wool, can provide a soothing tactile experience. Softness is highly subjective, though. So we've got 3 people in our home, 3 different opinions. In fact, to the point where it makes me feel better that I'm not, the high maintenance one. Sometimes when my husband and I will be making the bed and he'll be like, pass me a pillowcase. We'll have just gotten the bedding out of the dryer and he's like, this is your pillowcase. They're all gray. They feel well, okay, I can tell there's a difference in them, but they both feel soft to me. And he swears that I'm insane. And he's like, no, this is not, how is that soft to you? Anyway, so it's a difference of opinion. We laugh about it every time. I don't, they feel the same. So softness is subjective. Avoiding scratchy or irritating materials, obviously, like rough textures, stiff fabrics. I love linen to wear. I have tried to use linen sheets and I cannot. That I know it's not soft. And I know after you wash and wash and wash, it's supposed to be, but I can't get linen soft enough for that. Weighted and sensory friendly items. Those are really helpful. So whether it's a weighted blanket, a lap pad, better yet, a heated weighted lap pad, oh, amazing. It just provides that deep pressure stimulation that some people need. So when we're talking about sensory input, and a lot of the things I'm talking about seem like we're trying to get away from sensory stimulation, whether it's lighting and being overstimulated by lighting or sounds. Sometimes, though, we can go toward sensory stimulation, and that's when the weighted blankets feel good, things like that. But if they are too big, they can feel suffocating. So definitely play with like weights and sizes and that kind of thing. And sometimes just like textured wall panels, soft furniture covers, different textures can provide a really interesting experience too. Just a quick tip though on these things, making sure that they're easily washable. So I would love to have things in my house that are pretty like as well, and this goes back to clothes more than anything, but sometimes throws, like I cannot have anything I cannot just throw in a washing machine. So I think I have 1 or 2 dresses that, okay, I'll dry clean those, but in general, I can't have that hassle. And so making sure things are washable, easy to clean is pretty important, just that ease of that. Otherwise, it's gonna, if I have to do something special with it, I won't wear it for a year and a half because it will have been sitting waited to, be dealt with. So there's that thing to think of. Also, if you provide designated storage bins, so I don't know if you can see behind me, my coffee table has wicker baskets with lids, and we have so much storage around here because we have just things like blankets or games or overflow from my office that is also in here in there. So designated storage bins, super helpful. Yep. Okay. And then you have these cute little items I've hyperlinked. These are washable silk pajamas, which I don't have a pair of, but it's from a brand called Quince. And I love a lot of their stuff. So I'll probably get a pair of those at some point, but just some other nice textures. But that's kind of, I mean, does anybody else have anything on textures? There's not a ton to say about it other than just like soft and easy to clean. Okay, we're going to head over to scent and olfactory considerations. So this is kind of from the construction and decor side of things. I'm sure all of you guys are fairly familiar with off-gassing and low VOCs when it comes to things like paint, but often we don't think of VOCs coming from things like furniture foam or maybe the sealant or the stain that was used on a piece of furniture. So, well, and then the bottom one, even, visually, visually high quality faux plants. So I wanted a large scale palm tree. I kept killing them. I have a brown thumb. So I do have a pretty decent blend of like real and faux plants around my house. But it takes me a long time to find quality, like good looking faux plants. Um, I thought I found one, incredible price. It was at Home Goods of all places. And I had just come back from market looking for good quality trees. Anyway, I was so excited to have found it. I throw it in my car, drive it home. My car, it smelled, but I was like, well, there was probably like automatic air freshener or something in Home Goods. I brought it home and put it in the corner over there. And the next morning when I came downstairs, it smelled, and it wasn't a bad smell. It was like a perfumey smell. It was like a candle or something. It was so strong. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that is so weird. So I had enzyme spray. I eventually just doused it with straight vinegar. And I had to put it outside in my yard. And it was just like a palm tree. It should not have smelled. It wasn't, there were flowers on it, nothing. Um, I put it outside. Like, this is ridiculous. The whole family was just like, it smells. This is not just you, because I do have sensitive nose. But they were like, no, this is not just you. This smells. So I leave it outside, and I was like, I think it just needs to air out for like a day. Left it in the sun, doused it again with vinegar. I let it spend the night outside. Brought it in the next day. I was like, okay, I think we're good. I think that worked. Wow, that was weird. Mm-mm. About 4 or 5 hours later, my husband comes. He works from home, and he came downstairs, and he was like, "Oh, the smell is back." But I was in here in the same room, so I couldn't tell. Anyway, point being, I don't know where this tree came from, but it was like manufactured to smell. And I put it outside again, did another round of like all that stuff, and I eventually just had to take it back because and it was so pretty. Anyway, so the VOCs that are used in manufacturing so many products, do not underestimate, especially around sensitive people. Ventilation, super important, obviously, when you're, undertaking any kind of construction project. But also consider factoring in an off-gassing period into your project timeline. So that 1 or 2 weeks, if you're redoing your floors and you do have, low VOC options for your adhesives, your floats, your glues, your all of that. But if particularly sensitive, kind of adding that buffer time can be very helpful. And honestly, like according to the EPA, indoor air pollutants, and I have this linked below too, indoor air pollutants can be 2 to 5 times higher indoors than outdoors, largely due to VOC emissions from furniture, adhesives, textiles, all of that. So choosing low emission materials not only supports health, it improves cognitive function, reduces symptoms like headaches and respiratory irritation. So all of those things go low VOC and air purifiers. That's in a minute. Okay. And then off-gassing and chemicals when buying furniture. You probably don't think of it when buying furniture, but all of that new foam, the new material, things like that, it really can add a lot to the environment. So fabrics like, especially organic cottons, linens, hemps, wools, as much as you can use those, that's great. They just naturally will have a lower chemical footprint compared to synthetics because they're not derived from petroleums. And so when purchasing, do see if you can request that no extra like stain, fabric, or flame retardants are added by the manufacturers or shippers or suppliers. That can be kind of tricky to do. I have a colleague that I work with, and she specializes in green and sustainable non-toxic interior design materials. And they are tricky to find, but a lot of places that are fairly transparent can do things like that for you. And wool, again, it is particularly beneficial because it's naturally flame resistant without requiring chemical treatments. So if you're looking for one of the healthier mattresses, a lot of times wool is wool and then like a natural rubber for the Tempur-Pedic feel, the memory foam feel, is very, very available these days, which is so nice. And then remember, purchasing consignment or used is an option for some things. So that will have given pieces, they've been off-gassing because whether they're vintage, they've been in someone's home for years or, going through a consignment center, but it's had a chance to kind of off-gas the bulk of its chemicals. And then encapsulating furniture foam or mattress cores with barrier covers or protective wraps can be helpful, especially with and that's kind of allergies aside, but it helps with allergies too, obviously. And you can opt for furniture with removable washable slip covers, that kind of thing. And so requesting material samples, if you're going to make a big purchase, requesting material samples before committing to that purchase can be helpful. You can place those samples in a sealed container overnight and then smell it. If that container smells strongly, I mean, you can kind of make your decision there. And if you want to go for it, you can. Maybe just plan like to have it delivered and then go on vacation for a week. I don't know. The good thing is, I mean, this off-gassing, it does dissipate. I think really where people run into this is if they are sensitive or if they have done a large project and they have a lot of new things at once, moving into a new home with new items, that kind of thing. Okay, so I made a linen cabinet purchase from a local furniture supplier. They source from Indonesia and the areas around there. I don't know what finish or stain was in this piece. And you can't, like, the store has a smell when you go in it of like varnishes and things like that. But it almost smells, it's just kind of like musty, but not bad. Anyway, I get it home. It's to store linens. I couldn't use any linens out of there unless I washed them first. And I was like, well, it'll be fine. It'll eventually go away. We had that cabinet for over a year. And I had another place to store linens. It was fine. It was kind of, I had set it in a little vestibule that we had. And after, I think 2 years, when it just kind of the smell wasn't going to go anywhere. We finally moved it along to its next home. Probably somebody that just can't smell as good as I can. And I'm happy. That would be amazing. What a blessing. Anyway, so definitely live and learn. And yeah, for sensitive clients, sourcing from suppliers known for transparency, working with a designer who has those contacts with like green and non-toxic fabricators, really can save hassle and discomfort later when you're selling your piece of furniture 2 years later, because it smells. Reference the Environmental Working Group Healthy Home Guide. I linked that below. It's also linked here. I use them to research skincare and makeup, in fact, also. So it's a treasure trove of information. All right. So aside from construction, aside from buying furniture, just day to day, how do we manage scents and fragrances? So one way is to use things like an essential oil diffuser. That can add scent to your home in a way that's usually very tolerated. Also a simmer pot with some herbs and spices. That's a nice idea, especially around the holidays. And then candles that you can tolerate. Anything made with like higher quality ingredients are less likely to be irritating. I don't know why some candles bother me and some don't, but I know everything from Bath and Body Works bothers me, which really stunk as a teenager when that's what everyone was using and I wanted to use it too, and it just gave me a headache every time. But I powered through. I don't do that anymore. Investing in an air purifier is really great. Making sure it's equipped with a HEPA filter And this is activated carbon. I wonder if it meant charcoal. So I think the one we have is charcoal. But they trap not only dust, but just chemical pollutants, odors from furniture, cleaning products, that kind of thing. Using real plants throughout your house. So, as your green, or in my case, brown thumb allows, certain real plants like snake plants, peace lilies, spider plants, they can actually filter out those toxins and improve air quality. There have been some studies. I will add it to this workshop because I would love to have some numbers on it, but I saw something recently comparing, I think it was snake plants specifically, to an air purifier, and I'm looking at it, but it was pretty impactful. One tip is to buy plants locally, just to ensure they're acclimated, to where we are, and that they are organic and pesticide free if possible. And then just using those non-toxic, fragrance-free or naturally scented cleaning products like, 7th generation, branch basics, DIY mixtures. Honestly, that's what I use in my kitchen is vinegar and water. I used to put essential oil in it, and if my essential oils are upstairs. If I take the time to go upstairs, put them in there, then I do. It still kind of smells like vinegar anyway. So I just usually use the vinegar and water because once it dries, it doesn't smell like vinegar anyway. So, yeah, those are some helpful things to do day to day. And I have a picture of this blue air filter. Blue air is what I use, but there are several out there that are really very, very great to use. All right, guys, we are nearing the end. I'm going to leave you with these practical tips, just kind of on all of our topics. And it's, color, muted tones, limited contrast and patterns, ideally, for some people, some particularly sensitive people. Lighting, dimmers, warm lighting. Keywords here are diffused, dimmable, warm, glowing, and hidden. Nobody wants a light bulb in their face. Bare light bulb. Sounds, music on in the background to drown out distractions. Nature sounds can be comforting, help you zone in. And then textures, soft, soft, soft. And space planning, those wide, clear paths, limited busyness and visual clutter, and the furniture that doubles as storage to help eliminate that visual clutter and provide organization. And then scents, we just covered that. Just kind of avoiding those strong chemical or artificial fragrances. And then safety and home automation, rounded furniture for safety is sometimes needed. Timers and visual schedules can be very helpful, like calendars, one on the fridge, one on my desk, one on my phone. Yes. And then just general comfort. Heating pads can be a great way to add comfort to favorite sitting area. And then bring nature indoors by real or faux plants or blend, again, depending on your thumb. Okay, and then I'm leaving you with some resources. So some great organizations, some great books. They're all linked here. And I'm excited to see you guys next time. But if y'all have any questions or any thoughts, any examples of kind of how you've handled some of these topics in the past, definitely leave that in the comments. But yeah, it was good chatting with you guys tonight. I'm so glad that all of y'all were here. And Hannah, do we have any questions or anything like that?
No, not at this time.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, if there is nothing else, I will head out and we will see you guys next time. I'm about to get up our next couple of months on, in fact, I'm about to put the next couple of months schedule out, but I would love y'all's feedback if you can go to that link and at least do the one where my question about what are some topics that y'all would love to hear about. I would love your feedback, or you can totally just leave them in the comments, actually, whatever you want to do. You could go there, or leave them in the comments, but would love your input on future topics or workshops. So, okay. Well, thanks a bunch, guys.